okay, there's just some games that are so mediocre and so annoying that you just have to talk about them. This is my review of the third birthday for the PSP. Now, seeing as though Square Enix has decided to become crap, let's think of their newest titles. Final Fantasy 13, Final Fantasy 14, a game so bad people complained about it and actually sent it back. You know, the creators of the game actually had to apologise for making such a bad game. That is how terrible Final Fantasy 14 was. I mean, the only game that Square Enix actually has created in the past, year or two that's been tolerable are the Dragon Quest games that they've been either porting or making, or Dissidia. Oh, Dissidia. That makes up for Final Fantasy 13. Almost. So when I got into GameStation and I saw that Dissidia had sold out, I thought, I'm going to trust Square Enix with the third birthday. Now, the third birthday is the third in a sequel, well, a collection of games known as the Parasite Eve games, where you have to fight zombies, complicated plot. I don't know if it's zombies. I've never played the Parasite Eve games. I probably would have respected the third birthday more if I had. I'll admit that one of the flaws in the third birthday is I cannot keep up what's going with the plot. I mean, half of the time, it just switches from one place to another. It has some time travel bull crap. You know, it's a really confusing plot, and that can put off first-time players. I believe that if they should have been tailing it towards fans of the series, of course, but first-time players, so they would be able to understand. There is a handy data log thing in the game, much like Final Fantasy 13, so you can just find out what you're doing half of the time. There are other things in the game I really don't like. The gameplay is very mediocre. I mean, it's a shooter, and you think you'd be able to have free roam. It's a shooter RPG. It's a mixture of the two. You have your weapons that you can upgrade to make you take off more damage. The game, there's going to be some spoilers in this review. The actual plot of the game follows. There's an invasion of these new enemies called the Twisted, and they take over, New York in 2012. And your character, named Aya Brea, is found by the CTI, which is the Counter-Twisted Investigation Team, or something like that, and you have a special ability known as the Overdive ability. Now, if you use a machine, you can dive into the subconscious of another soldier, so you can actually go back in time and change the past. So that's the overall kind of story. It takes a lot of twists and turns, but it is extremely complex and very hard to get into, I find, anyway. So the gameplay, you're fighting the Twisted, and you can dive into other people's bodies with the Overdive thing. So that means you can, if your soldier is about to die, you can jump into another soldier and survive and get more tactical. It's very tactical. You can dive into a soldier who has different weapons, so if you run out of ammo, you can get more ammo that way. You can use the individual soldier's ammo. It's a good idea, and there's also a DNA system involved where you have different abilities on, such as if you overdive into someone else, you can get more health or more ammo. So in the actual backgrounds of the game mechanics are very interesting, but it's a shooter, and a shooter you should be able to have free roam of where you're shooting. However, I don't know if you can. I didn't mess with the options too much, but what I found was that you didn't really have free roam. All you really do is lock onto the target and hold down the fire button. That's it. It's not a very enjoyable game. It gets extremely frustrating at times, and I found it hard even on the easiest of difficulties, so I can't even imagine how the harder difficulties feel. There are some points where it seems to just... the camera is always fighting against you. When you're locking onto an enemy and you're shooting it, you don't know what's behind you. So an enemy usually comes and attacks you from behind, making you lose some health. The overdrive system does help with this, but you never really feel like you've got the advantage in combat, no matter what weapons you've got. The actual weapon creation system is very diverse. You can upgrade your weapons in many ways. You can't do things like adding silencers, I don't think, but you can increase the damage it outputs and things like that. The overall story of the game isn't very long either. It would take probably about 5 to 10 hours to complete. I mean, the third birthday is just a very mediocre game overall. Square Enix really needs to start getting its act together, because they're starting to ruin all the franchises. I mean, seriously, they've got a few franchises left now. Final Fantasy's ruined, no offense, right? 13 and 14 have pretty much buried it. Unless 15 gets its act together, or 13-2 is any good, then it's ruined that. It's ruined Parasite Eve, because the third birthday is... It's alright for fans of the series, but it's nothing fantastic. The story is extremely confusing, the gameplay is befuddled, and it's really hard to know what you're doing most of the time. and I just didn't really enjoy it. I mean, the only series Square have really got left now are Chrono Trigger and, well, the Chrono series and the Dragon Quest series. So let's hope to God that they don't do that. Overall, the third birthday, I bought at a budget price of £20, and I don't recommend you actually buying it. It's a mediocre game. If you're a fan of the Parasite Eve series, check it out. It's a different enemy to what it was before, and you'll be able to recognise characters, and there is a twist ending. But there is one good thing about this game, a shower scene, and I will be putting the shower scene in this review. So, the third birthday overall, I know I've said that twice now, I would give a 5 out of 10. Very mediocre game. Check it out if you're a fan of the series, but I wouldn't recommend it to any casual players. So yeah, that's my review of the third birthday. I hope you've enjoyed. If you want, send me in some requests on what else you want me to review. And yeah, this is Geezer with his review of the third birthday for the PSP. Thank you for watching.